Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a beer, it's time for some Path of Exile discussion. Today I want to continue in a series looking at some of the powerful and popular endgame unique items in Path of Exile. Today I'm going to look at one of the rarest items in the game. But just so that you know, rarest doesn't always necessarily mean all that expensive. And I picked up the already 6-linked version that I'm going to show you in the Ultimatum Trade-Enabled Softcore League for the price of 4 exalts. So it's not a super accessible item, but it's also not something that is, in headhunter territory either, although it is something that's very rare early in the league. And this is Garb of the Ephemeral. So this is a Cortex drop. This drops from High Templar Venarius and his 4 Synthete minions that you fight in the Cortex unique map. And as a result, it's pretty rare because a Cortex map is not a common drop. Additionally, it's the rarest of the 4 different Cortex uniques. So you have the Bottled Faith, which is the power item. It's the second rarest of the items there. Garb of the Ephemeral is the rarest. And you have the gloves and the scepter, which are quite a bit more common. So, Garb of the Ephemeral will always drop synthesized with 1, 2, or 3 implicit mods. You'll see here that I've got 2 on this one, plus 10 maximum energy shield and plus 7% to chaos resistance. That said, they can vary a lot. The first one I was trying to buy in order to make this video was one that had 10% increased effective fortify on you, which is much stronger synthesized implicit than either of these two. However, let's talk about the actual item itself, and it revolves around a mechanic that is not explained on the item, which is a really annoying thing, and that is this: gain a divine charge on hit, you gain Divinity for 10 seconds upon reaching maximum divine charges, and you lose all divine charges when you gain Divinity. So, let's go through what this means. Firstly, what is Divinity? Divinity has 3 effects. Firstly, for meme value, it makes your character larger. This is just funny. It doesn't really do much in-game. Secondly, it causes your character to deal 50% more elemental damage. Now this is quite a bit more than most support gems. So you can think of this as being like a free support gem while Divinity is up, granting a lot of extra damage. Really, really, really good stuff. The third thing Divinity does is it gives you a 20% less multiplier to elemental damage your character suffers. So far this is sounding really good. However, let's talk about the hidden drawback of this item, as well as its openly displayed drawback. So its hidden drawback is the line, gain a divine charge on hit. This has a 1-second cooldown on it. And I don't believe, although I could be wrong on this, I don't believe that that cooldown is part of your character, so it's not something that you can affect through normal methods of reducing cooldowns on your character. So what this means is that you have Divinity for 10 seconds, and then you have 10 seconds when Divinity is off. This means you're looking at basically a 50% uptime normally, which is considerable, and I'd like to think of this item as basically being a 25% more multiplier to elemental damage that you deal. Now, in addition to that, it also has the very, very, very powerful line, nearby enemies cannot deal critical strikes. This is amazing. Most of the things that kill you in Path of Exile often are criticals, and so that provides you with a considerable degree of resilience. It's not absolute immunity, it doesn't make you unkillable, but it means that some of the things that are most likely to kill you in the game won't. However, this item has a very obvious drawback as well, and that is 600 strength and intelligence requirements. Now, this requires tremendous investment to get to work. At the time that this item was brought out, there was no good way to achieve this level of strength and intelligence. You needed to basically take a lot of stats on the tree and also invest in some items that granted plus percentage to strength and intelligence, or plus percentage to all attributes. And ultimately, the opportunity cost of Garb of the Ephemeral was extremely high. What's happened since then, though, because this was brought out in the Synthesis League and wasn't a very popular unique at the time, the very next league after Synthesis introduced Timeless Jewels. And as it currently stands, Elegant Hubris, which I think came later than Legion, the specific version that I've got here, the ones that are dedicated to Caspiro, these provide you with a way to cheat this drawback. So what I'm going to do here is just swap one of the random jewels out of my build and replace it with this Elegant Hubris. And then you'll notice that because it's a timeless jewel, it conquers the area. So all of the surrounding passives are conquered by the Eternal Empire. And in particular, all of the keystones in the area are replaced by Supreme Ostentation. Now, this causes you to ignore attribute requirements on items and gems, but you gain no inherent bonuses from attributes. So basically this means that your attributes are sort of effectively set to 0 for most purposes, but it means that the requirements to use items are also set to 0. And so even though I shouldn't be able to use Garb of the Ephemeral, I can now equip it on this character. Now, the character I'm putting it on doesn't have any interest in using the item, and so I'm just going to refund this point and remove, sort of replace the setup that I had previously so that I don't forget to do that. But it does show you how you can get around the drawback on Garb of the Ephemeral. And so what you need here is a Elegant Hubris. It doesn't need to be 95,600, but it does need to be to commemorate Caspiro. And then you'll be able to use this. Ultimately, I think this item is Trade League only because of this. The fact that you require a specific timeless jewel, Elegant Hubris also being one of the uncommon ones, I believe. And you need the rarest item from the rarest of the unique maps in the game, is going to mean that most players are not going to be able to put this together in SSF. But it's a really fun toy in a trade league. Ultimately, because of the way Divinity works, 50% more multiplier to elemental damage, you're going to want a build that hits pretty fast, so that you're gaining a divine charge every second when in combat, and you're also going to want to be running a build that is dealing a lot of elemental damage. And some of the sorts of ideas that I've had in mind would be a Mjolnir build. So if you're using the unique mace Mjolnir, unique hammer, Mjolnir, in conjunction with some sort of lightning skill like Arc is popular, Shock Nova can be used with it as well, or even with Ball Lightning. All of these are options. Or you could just use it on a traditional spellcaster build. It will add a lot of damage. Whether it's the best thing for your build or not is an open question. The last thing I want to say about Garb of the Ephemeral is that colouring it is horrible. And ultimately, you are going to absolutely need to use Harvest Crafts if you want to get green sockets onto this item. Now, the reason for that is that the way that chromatic orbs work in Path of Exile is that the game adds 17, at least this is what's believed to be the case, the game adds 17 to the attribute requirements, so that would mean that for Garb of the Ephemeral that would be Dexterity 17, Strength 617, and Intelligence 769, and then that is the probability of rolling each colour of sockets. So that means that you've got basically about a 1% chance for any given socket to roll green. Because it's so hard to roll multiple greens on this item, you are going to want to recolor it. If you want to use any green sockets at all on it, you're going to want to use some form of recoloring that is not applying chromatic orbs. This can be the crafting bench. You can go and use the 3 green sockets craft on it directly if you want. Or alternately, you can use the Harvest Crafts that choose 2 of the sockets at random and change one of them to blue, one of them to green. Or alternately, you can use some of the rarer Harvest Crafts that turn a non-green socket to green. Or alternately, you can use Varici's crafting bench to turn multiple sockets white. Anyways, that's where I'm going to leave it with this one. A lot of fun item. Reasonably powerful, underrated, but not necessarily one of the strongest items in the game, but certainly something that can definitely find a home and is the best item for some builds, even if it's not the best item for every build. If you've got any comments or questions, though, definitely fire away below. Otherwise, I'm going to leave it there. Hope you have a good one, and may your Val Orbs have interesting results.